Welcome to the Lifestyle Dentist Podcast, where healthy, wealthy, generous dentists choose to live epic lives on their terms with freedom and fulfillment. My name is Garth Hatch, and I am excited for this episode. In this one, it's going to be a little different. It's going to be me and just giving a little bit of background about myself. Who am I? What's my history as a dentist, as a lifestyle dentist, as an endodontist, as an entrepreneur, real estate investor, and other things I've done, dumb mistakes I've made, some smart things I've done, and just a little bit about myself and lifestyle dentist. I grew up in Riverside, California, Southern California, and was the fourth of six kids. My dad was a fireman. We always had what we needed. I had an amazing childhood growing up. Not a lot of money, but lots of love, lots of encouragement from my parents, my siblings. And as I grew up, I was planning on being a fireman. My dad was a fireman, so that was my plan. And then actually enjoyed exercise when I was getting ready to graduate high school. Switched to physical therapy. Thought that would be a good road because I liked exercise, and did that all the way. Went to BYU for undergrad and did that for my undergrad up till almost my senior year. Had a friend tell me about dentistry and how that was a great way to go. Good income, good family life, because you could work normal hours and still be off for family and make good money. So I'm like, hey, sign me up. That sounds pretty good to me. Even though I didn't really know any dentists personally, it was not something that was on my radar. But luckily, I feel like God was guiding me because it's worked out really well because I really did not know what I was getting myself into. And went to Indiana University for dental school. Love Indiana. It was a great experience there. It was my one and only school that accepted me. In fact, when I was getting ready to apply, I was planning on waiting one more year because I hadn't even taken organic chemistry. My wife's like, well, could you at least apply? I'm like, yeah, I could, but probably I wouldn't get in because I hadn't even taken the DIT. And she's like, well, the worst they can say is no. And so I appreciated her. I studied as many equations for organic chemistry as I could. I took the test, the DIT. I got a 15 on my organic that fall, but got a 21 on my inorganic, and they kind of balanced out. So my score was average, but it was good enough with my grades to get in. Indiana was my one and only school that accepted me, and I was so grateful for them for taking a chance on me. And it worked out great. It was a wonderful school for me, and great people in Indiana, great solid Midwest dental school program. So graduated from dental school in 2003. I went through school on an Army scholarship in the dental corps, and that was another blessing for me. I didn't have the money to pay for school, and my father-in-law was career Army, and he's like, yeah, I'd look at having the military pay for your school. He's like, I'd start with the Air Force. And I started with the Air Force, the recruiter, and he said, well, they only have a 3-year scholarship. And then talked to the Army recruiter, and he's like, well, we got a 4-year scholarship. And he's like, what's your grades? What's your test scores? Any health issues? And he's like, I'll get you in. I'm like, sign me up for the Army. Sounds good to me. So able to go through dental school on an Army scholarship. Love that because it saved me a lot of debt, and graduated in 2003, went into the Army Dental Corps, did a 1-year AGD, and that was a great learning year. Probably my best overall clinical learning year when I did a AGD in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Did a lot of everything, a lot of crowns, a lot of restorative, a lot of endo, a lot of perio, a lot of oral surgery. Had 2 really good endodontic mentors in dental school, a guy named Joseph Legan, my undergrad director of endo, and then in the military, a colonel named Colonel Tim Bodie. And both of them showed me the joys of endodontics and root canals, and I really liked it. And luckily, despite I was not number one in my class, but doing decent in dental school and being in the military, I was able to get into an Army program that they had at Fort Jackson, or in Augusta, Georgia, for an endo program. Got accepted into an endo program, and did an endo program 2005 to 2007 in Augusta, Georgia. That was an amazing experience, and able to get my endodontic certificate. It was a fun year. Had some really good residents in the Army Dental Corps. We had a lot of fun and studied a lot. I also had some exciting times. One of my daughters, Corinne, was born when I was a resident there in Augusta, and she was born in the car on the way to MCG hospital in the middle of the night. And that was a crazy life-changing experience too, because I felt like as a healthcare provider, I've been through a lot of fun and crazy times and things like that. Felt like I was pretty calm under pressure. And it was a wild experience when my daughter was born on the way to the hospital. And luckily it turned out really well. It was my wife's easiest birth. And luckily there's no complications, but it was it was quite the experience. She was born about 2 minutes before we got to the hospital. When we arrived, I did this mad dash into the emergency room, said, my wife's just had a baby and they're out there right now. And the residents came out. It's a teaching hospital, so there were probably, I don't know, third, fourth year medical students come out, and they're like, should we like cut the cord and then bring the baby in and then the wife, or do them together or whatever? And I'm like, guys, let's just get them inside. We'll figure it out in the hospital. Let's just get them inside. Like, oh, okay. Well, maybe we'll clamp it and then we'll cut the cord and then we'll bring them in one at a time. And finally got them in, and luckily everybody was okay. Got in the emergency room there. Luckily it was dead. There's like nobody there. So everybody was pretty attentive and able to get mama okay. And my little girl was okay. And after about a half hour, when I saw everybody was all right, and they had taken my daughter to the delivery area, and I was able to kind of follow her and make sure everybody was okay. I almost passed out just from exhaustion of that a crazy adrenaline dump, but everybody was all right. And the funny thing was that later that day, I had to move the Corolla from the emergency room entrance. They were like, you got to get your car out of here. So I took my car, and when I was going to move it, I saw the passenger seat, and it looked like you would imagine after giving birth, my wife giving birth in the Corolla on the way to the hospital, and took it down to the only auto detailing place I could find in downtown Augusta, Georgia. And it had a sign on there called Pimp My Ride. That's all I can remember, Pimp My Ride. And the guy came over in the morning, getting ready for doing all their car detailing. And he comes over, and I said, how much is it to get the car detailed? And he's like, $35. And I was thinking, man, that's actually a pretty good deal. And I said, what about just to clean the seat? And he comes over, looks at the seat on the Corolla with blood and fluid and whatever else that was on there. And he's like, oh, seat like that, $30. I'm like, hey, let's do the whole shebang. So got the car, and I can only imagine what he was thinking, what just transpired, what crime just took place in our Corolla, but whatever, no questions asked, got the car all detailed for $35. And luckily they did a great job. They got that cleaned up. But anyways, car was okay. Mama was okay. Baby was okay. But it definitely put me through a bit of an emotional fire, and just kind of how would I maybe deal under pressure. It taught me a lot of lessons on that. And one of the big ones was you just got to keep on rolling till things are stable when you're in a life or death situation like that. And it was, now we kind of laugh at everything, but it was pretty intense at the time. But anyways, that was one of the highlights of being in Augusta, but able to finish my program. I was in Germany for 3 years. Love that. It was like a 3-year vacation, able to improve my endo skills and made some really good friends in the dental corps. Great opportunity to learn clinically. And one of my goals was to have my own practice. That was kind of ever since I went to dental school, that was kind of in the vision. And I didn't know anything when I actually went to dental school. I didn't even know what an endodontist was, but when I enjoyed root canals when I was in dental school, decided to do endodontics. And when I was getting out of the military, I was looking at different options, and it was right around the Great Recession, 2008, 9, 10. And a lot of friends were like, you're crazy getting out of the military right now. It's just the economy's not doing well. I had friends from dental school that were out in private practice or associating at other places. And they're like, man, it's tough. I can barely make my student loans. And I was living in Germany, so it was hard to really know what was going on. And I decided, you know what, it's our dream. We had a practice opportunity open up in Eastern Washington. My wife had some family out in Tri-Cities, Washington, in a practice in Kennewick, Washington, and we decided, you know what, it's either fear or faith. Let's go with faith, and we'll do everything we can to make it work. And it was a little stressful because I did not come from a family with much money. It was all on me. It was like sink or swim. And I had 4 kids at the time too. This small little tribe of 4 kids and my wife, and failure was not an option. And so able to buy the practice and just did everything I could to grow it, trying all kinds of marketing. When I was in the military, that one nice thing with the military is there is a lot of hurry up and wait a lot of times in the military, where you're busy at times, but then also there's some downtime. And during my downtime, I tried to do all I can to learn about business, about marketing, from podcasts, from books. I call it, I got an MBA, Masters of Book Accumulation, by just buying books and reading online, anything I could get on how to grow a business, how to train a team, how to market, how to have good customer service, those kind of things. And luckily, also, when I got out, I got a really good mentor coach. And at the time, it was $25,000, which I couldn't believe how expensive that was. But looking back, it was peanuts compared to what it helped me, as far as get ahead faster in my practice. A guy named Ace Scorig, love the guy, still a friend and mentor to this day, an endodontist in Washington. And that taught me a lot of lessons, just in that getting a good coach or consultant is like an investment. It shouldn't be an expense if they're good, because it should pay in spades. And in this case, it did. I mean, from the lessons I learned, it was a 1-year program. I probably got my money back within 2 or 3 months. And from there, it was just gravy. But it helped me grow. And even though I tried a lot of different things, I pretty much tried anything that might be an option and would see what would stick. Including, I remember putting up these yard signs throughout town that said, got toothache, call Columbia River Endodontics with our phone number. Didn't get a single phone call from those yard signs. Tried different value pack and things like that. Well, it might work good for a general dentist, but for an endodontist, most of our patients came referral based, because patients usually don't know they need a root canal. They just know they have a toothache, so they'll go see their dentist. And so usually there's most of our patients still are coming from our referring dentists. We are able to get a lot of repeat patients now that come see us just because they have a good experience. And so they may even be referred somewhere else, but they come to see us because of the great experience they had in the past. And so now we are getting more direct patients. But in general, most of our patients come referred. But I learned some different things that did work well for marketing, including connections with the general dentist. Being available, that was one of our big niches, was availability, where I was the guy that I would get a patient in. If they're in pain, I would get them in, whether it was Tuesday afternoon or Saturday or whenever it was. I would get in and take care of the patient. And that was probably the biggest thing, was just availability, that really helped us grow the practice. And we were able to grow. I bought the practice from a retiring endodontist, and it was pretty old school. The practice, it was kind of, you think Miami Vice theme. It was started in the 80s, and it still had green carpet with pink accents, pink toilets, different things like that. And it was great though, because I got it for a good deal. I was able to upgrade it and make it my own. And it was a way to get to an area that we liked. And so we were able to grow the practice by over 61% the first year. And to me, that was phenomenal. I mean, it went really well. I was making more money than I ever imagined, and more than any of my family members ever made, which was good. But also we continued to grow. We added team members, and each year we were growing at 2010, 2011, 2012, 13, 14, every year we grew and got bigger and bigger. And it was good being available and growing, but it also came with a cost because I was burning the candle at both ends and I wasn't taking care of my health. I had several times I was having neck and back issues. Usually I could kind of fight through it and then over the weekend kind of relax and get it better on Monday. I remember in particular, I was having neck issues and went through the weekend. It really hurt. Started on Monday. It was still hurting really bad. I'd get a bad pinch every time I leaned over. And that was kind of scary because I had no backup. I mean, if I couldn't work, the practice would probably go under. And that was stressful. And luckily I was able to fight through it with a chiropractor, but it was just a lot of stress. I also remember the emotional toll where felt like I couldn't get away from the practice because I'd lose referrals. And even when we would get away, go for a few days to the beach or something like that, my kids are out playing on the beach and having fun. In the back of my mind, I'm stressed because all my patients, at least I thought, were going somewhere else, and because I wasn't available, and just had anxiety because of that, not feeling settled. And it kind of came to a head. I remember being at my son Marcus's birthday party and got a phone call from a referring dentist and like, hey, I got a patient in pain. Can you get him in? And as usual, I said, sure, we'll get him in. And I get this look from my wife, who she's a sweetheart. She's always been a rock for me and very supportive, but she's like, really? You're leaving Marcus's birthday party? And it really hit me hard. I just felt frustrated, felt stressed. It felt like I was trapped. Like I didn't want to say yes. It wasn't for the money, but it just felt like if I didn't say yes, then it wasn't just that patient I was losing. I'd probably lose the whole referral, which looking back, that may or likely wasn't the case, but it just felt that way. But it did make me think there's got to be a better way. I can't keep living like this. And I've got to figure out other ways to get around. I looked at different systems with the practice. Also felt like I needed to get another doctor in the practice to have doctor duplication so that we could be available, we could treat patients, but I didn't necessarily have to be there every day. And luckily I was able to connect with a good friend from the military. We'd both gone to Chad Dawson, a good buddy of mine. We went to dental school together. We went in the military at the same time, did our endo residency together, and then both were stationed in Germany. He stayed in another several years when I got out, but he was getting ready to leave as well in 2014 and was looking for a practice he was in Colorado at the time, looking to buy a practice in Colorado, or buy into a practice, I should say. And he called me and asked, hey, I'm looking at buying this practice, half this practice, but the dentist said that basically I could buy the practice, but his patients were his patients, and he would have to grow his own practice to get his own referrals. But he was still going to be paying for half the practice. And I'm thinking, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you buy the practice? You'd be better off starting down the street from scratch. I mean, are you buying like a dental chair? I mean, you're really not buying any kind of goodwill in a situation like that. And I tried to use some sales skills and a hard close, saying, hey, you got to join me out here in Eastern Washington. It's a great opportunity. He grew up in Idaho. It's similar to Idaho. And luckily he took a chance on me, came out and visited and liked it. Him and his wife really liked the area and decided to move out, associated for a year, and then ended up buying into the practice a year later. It was amazing to have some help. Feel like, luckily I knew him. I knew he was a great guy, great clinician, and great friend. And so felt really good about him joining. And it really did make a difference emotionally, physically, just to have somebody else there, and knowing that if for whatever reason I had to leave, I wanted to leave and go on vacation, whatever, the practice could still be functioning, and vice versa for him. He could leave. He was still in the Army Reserve. He could do his Army Reserve time, whatever, and I'd be there, and we could cover each other. And what a relief that was. And it was interesting. We did that. The practice continued to grow. We had another person move out to our area, and he was getting out of the military. And at the time, he'd actually already moved out to the area and was interested in joining the practice. And I was like, well, we could probably keep you busy maybe 2 days a week, but we weren't busy enough to really have somebody else full time. And he's like, hey, as long as, I'm single, no debt, I can live with my parents as long as I need. He's like, as long as I can make like 6-7 grand a month, I'll be fine. I'm like, brother, you're hired. We can make that work for you. And luckily, we were able to add him, do some more marketing. And each time I added somebody for about 6-7 months, my personal income went down. The practice income went up, but my personal income went down a little bit. But I would go out and a little more time to market the practice. I would want the new doc to market because they really needed to market themselves too, because at the end of the day, especially as a specialist, you cannot pay somebody else to do your own push-ups. I mean, you really have to get out because dentists do not refer to those they don't know, like, and trust. They have to know that person, and otherwise they're not going to want them to treat their patients. And so they need to get out as well. But each time we did that, within 6 to 12 months max, income was up, practice numbers were up, and my own personal income was up. And I was also each time able to usually work a little bit less, go from 5 days a week to 4 days a week to 3.5 to 3. And now we're a practice of five endodontists in 2 locations in Kennewick and Yakima. Practice is doing well. I average working about 2 days a week, and still in the chair, still doing root canals, but also have time to do coaching, consulting, do other things. When I got out of the military, I also was able to do a few things smart. I made some really dumb mistakes on investing, and thought I was going to be a day trader when I was in dental school. Invested $2,000, including like great companies like MCI WorldCom and other companies, which if you know anything about them, it completely went belly up. I lost all $2,000, which as a dental student felt like I lost this huge chunk of money, but it was actually like a blessing because it taught me I'm not a good day trader and that was not my space. But I did universal life insurance. I did all kinds of things that didn't work out well. One thing that did work out well was investing in real estate. And I had an uncle that was wealthy, invested in Southern California, starting in the 60s and 70s, and did really well in real estate. And so I felt that was a good pathway I should try. So I started buying rentals. I bought a duplex. It started when I was in the military because we'd buy a house and then we would move and then keep that first house and end up buying several houses when we were in the military. And that worked out really well, including when I was in Augusta. We bought a house where we rented the basement, lived upstairs. It was a foreclosure, and it was interesting. We bought it about $100,000 below the tax value. Somebody did this big addition, but because it wasn't permitted, they couldn't sell it for the value of the addition, and it wasn't finished. It wasn't up to code. The upstairs bonus room had some indoor growing lights for whatever reason. They were growing something indoors and went bankrupt, but able to get it at a really good deal. When I was a resident, I did a lot of YouTubing on the side of how to tile, how to do sheetrock, how to do a lot of different construction things, and was a indoor resident by day and a contractor by night, and did as much as I could on my own. Had to still hire out a lot, and also learned a lot about hiring out contractors. I learned not to pay them much up front. Otherwise, they would take your money and then be gone for 2 months and then would show up. Once their beer money ran out, they'd come back and want to do some more. So it taught me a lot on working with contractors, but good experience. And we were able to sell that at a profit. And when I left for Germany in 2007, able to sell that with a $75,000 profit from the money we bought it for, what we bought it for, what we put into it. And that worked out really well. That was about as much I'd be making a whole year. So it really gave me the bug of what was possible with real estate, and continued to buy real estate when I got out of the military, for duplexes and triplex, and eventually bought a mobile home park, my dental building, and I bought another location, dental building. And luckily, investing in real estate, I've never lost money in real estate. That's something that's been very stable. It's very cash flow happy, positive, where I am able to make money each month whether I work or not in the practice from the real estate. And that taught me a lot. It also showed me the power of leverage and the benefits of certain investments tax-wise, how with my wife being a real estate professional, we were able to save a lot of money in taxes with the real estate, and learn a lot from some good CPAs, good tax strategists. On the IRS has lots of incentives for certain investments, and if you follow their incentives, you can really lower your taxes. And that's another way that helped me accelerate my wealth building. We now own over $8 million worth of real estate, and that is a big help to be able to make money whether I work or not. I still enjoy practicing. I still enjoy doing root canals, but I could survive without working if I wanted to. And that gives a lot of peace of mind that if for whatever reason I broke my hand, I couldn't work, whatever, that I've got options. And so that was a big learning lesson. And also it taught me a lot on the importance of having good mentors, having a lifestyle too, because in business, I say one is the loneliest number in business, or really anywhere. One is the loneliest number, where it can be stressful if you only have one dentist, one office manager, one front desk person, one of anything. That can cause a lot of stress. And so when you have duplication, it makes things a lot easier for you.